what up, Net fans? NetsBoy here, bringing you the latest in your Brooklyn Nets news. So, there's not a lot to really talk about at this point. It's currently January 29th, so we're almost in August, and the offseason has kind of settled down from all the big trades and all the free agent signings and all that stuff. And there's a lot that's happened in the sense of, with other teams, but nothing that major with the Nets, obviously, other than the Darren Williams thing, which was my last video, was about the Nets getting rid of Darren Williams and so on and so forth, and some of the moves that I thought the Nets couldn't make. Now it looks like the Nets aren't going to do much more when it comes to the offseason. They made the trades that they made involving Plumlee and then trading Steve Blake. They have Quincy Miller now, who allegedly is going to try out for the team. He will be have a chance to make the team. He has a non-guaranteed contract, but allegedly the Nets said they were going to release him, but now they're saying that they're going to keep him and give him a shot to make the team, and so on and so forth. So, but what I want to do with this video now is just look at the Nets point guard situation, and that's what this video is going to be about, the Nets point guard situation, because as we know, they got rid of Darren Williams, which I'm still super excited and happy about, but they've left a bit of a void in the point guard spot now. So I have a couple ideas that I'm going to spitball out there that maybe they can try to do point guard wise, though they're probably not going to. Basically, they've acknowledged that after getting rid of Darren Williams and getting under the luxury tax, that they're just going to kind of point guard by committee. They're going to start Jarrett Jack. He's going to be the primary point guard. They're going to play Shane Larkin a lot as well. Occasionally they're going to probably have Joe Johnson bring up the ball, and they're just going to have that as their point guard tangent. I mean, that's not terrible, but personally, I want a little bit more. You look at the team that the Nets have put together, the one real flaw is they don't have a point guard now, I mean, you look at the team, they got a great front court in Thaddeus Young and Brook Lopez. They said they're going to hold on to Joe Johnson, which is fine, and he's going to be a great, go-to guy down the stretch, even though he had a little bit of a rough season last year when it came to making big shots. But he's a good, solid wing. Markel Brown's a great defender. Bojan Bogdanovic is a guy they're going to look at to be a strong two-guard and shoot the ball really well. They got young athleticism in Rondé Hollis-Jefferson. Thomas Robinson looks good. Andrea Bargnani might be something decent. The Nets have no really low expectations for him, but he could be decent. Shane Larkin and stuff. You look at the team the Nets have, they're really not that bad. But if you can say if there's any weakness the team has, it's that they don't have a point guard. They don't have a guy who can be a point guard and control the tempo of a game. Now, Jarrett Jack did an adequate job last year being a point guard when Darren Williams got hurt and didn't play that many games, but there's a reason why Jarrett Jack is a journeyman, and there's a reason why Jarrett Jack has never been more than a sixth man on most teams. He's not a good enough player to be your everyday point guard. He's not. I mean, there's no doubt about it that he's just not consistent and good enough to be an everyday point guard. He's a good player. He's a good backup, but he's not an everyday point guard, which is going to be the reason why the Nets might struggle. Anytime the Nets are going to go up against a team with an elite point guard, the Nets are going to struggle because they're not going to be able to control the tempo of the game. The other team's point guard will, and they'll probably have a big problem. So, in my opinion, they've got to address this. Will they? Probably not. Billy King has kind of went out there and said, listen, we're not looking to make any more moves. They're looking to hold on to Joe Johnson because I want a veteran presence on the team to help lead these group of young guys. Joe Johnson's got an expiring contract, and they'll move on from him at the end of next season now that they're under the luxury tax. Personally, I think they should still move Joe Johnson because I still think that there's a lot of teams that could use him and would put up something for him. So, I'm not a huge fan of what the team has when it comes to the point guard right now. So, let's just look at, like I said, look at the point guards they have now: Jarrett Jack, Shane Larkin, and probably Ryan Boatwright is probably going to be. I know he's going to be at least invited to training camp, and I think he has a chance to make the team. He's been phenomenal. I think he's been a very good player. Undrafted, but he's played very well for the Nets in the Summer League and the Vegas League and all that stuff. He's did fantastic, had a game-winning shot, shooting over 40% from three. That's fantastic. The Nets need three shooting. I think he should make the team, and he should be on the team. So you look at those three guys, and who knows what could happen. Maybe Shane Larkin can become an adequate player. Shane Larkin's only in his third year in the league. Maybe he develops and proves that he can be a quality point guard. Maybe Ryan Boatwright shocks everyone and goes from an undrafted player to a very solid point guard. It's still a possibility. Maybe Jarrett Jack says, hey, screw you, NetsBoy. I can be a quality starting point guard, and he plays fantastic. You never know. But that's what the Nets are obviously looking at now moving forward. Now, there are still several moves that I would do if I was the Nets to try to fix this point guard position. I touched upon one of them a while back when I mentioned that maybe they should trade for Trey Burks from the Jazz. They're moving away from him, though the Jazz have indicated that they plan on keeping Trey Burks and having him come off the bench. There's this notion that maybe because Dante Exum and all the other players that they might try trading him. I think that would be a great move for the Nets to try to trade for Trey Burks. You can give up Jarrett Jack and maybe one young player for him. I know Jarrett Jack is a solid player, but I think Trey Burks has potential to be a very good, if not all-star caliber point guard in this league. I really do. So I think Jarrett Jack and maybe a young player like a Sergei Karasev or something along those lines, or maybe even a Celtics draft pick. Maybe you don't even need to throw a draft pick in because Burks has been a little unproven, but I think that would be a great move. You bring in Trey Burks. You go into his third year. He averaged 12 points last season. I think he was 12 and 4. Did shoot under 40% from the field, but you know what? He's a young guy. I think there's a lot of upside to his game. And I think that you plug him into the starting lineup, have him learn with this young team. You just develop even more of a young core of a team, and I think that that's a very good trade that they can look into, and I think it's something that Billy King should explore. Obviously, if the asking price is too high, I wouldn't trade Hollis Jefferson for him at all, or Boyan Bogdanovic. I wouldn't trade any of those guys, but maybe a Chris McCullough for him, maybe a Jarrett Jack, maybe a Sergei Karasev. I don't think it's a bad move. I think that if you put Greg and trade that for Trey Burks and you let him learn on the fly, have him build a rapport with Young and Lopez and then Rondae Hollis Jefferson, you're setting yourself up to really have a good young core team that you're going to build around the next 5 years. I think it's a smart move. So that's one of the first moves that I would do if I was Billy King, or look into doing, is see if you can get Trey Burks from Utah. I just think that's a good move. I think that he's a good young player, and I think the asking price won't be too high. And I think that, ultimately I think that that's a move that Billy King could do. Then there's a few other players that are more, to me, less likely that the Nets could go out there and get. That's the one that's the most likely one to me. I feel like the Nets could definitely pull that off. I don't see why they couldn't. Wouldn't be the first time Utah and the Nets did a deal for a point guard. So I think that is something they could do. But now there's a few other names that are floating out there. Players like Brandon Jennings and Drew Bledsoe. Drew Bledsoe. Yeah, Drew Bledsoe. Eric Bledsoe. Drew Bledsoe is going to be the new point guard for the Nets. How about that? That would be funny. Eric Bledsoe, his name has been thrown out there. Trade rumors. Even Kyle Lowry's name have been thrown out there. Personally, I wouldn't want Bledsoe or Jennings because I feel they're both too shoot-happy point guards. I feel they're too much of a scorer. But at the same time, beggars can't be choosers, and I would take him over Jarrett Jack. Kyle Lowry, I would take in a heartbeat. I think Kyle Lowry is a fantastic point guard. I think he had a bad playoff last season because he was hurt, even though he said he was 100%. I think he was kind of fronting that. I think that Kyle Lowry would be a great fit. Now, all three of those guys, at one time there was rumors that they were going to be on the move, but it looks like now that neither of them will be traded. I think Bledsoe is the most likely one. Brandon Jennings, you never know with him. He's coming off injury, so you really don't know. And then you look at Kyle Lowry, I don't know what direction the Raptors are looking at. The Raptors made an indication that they may blow up their whole entire team and trade away DeRozan, trade away Lowry, and start off all over again. Personally, I think the Raptors need to retool instead of blowing up their roster because I think that they have a very good, solid team. But that's my personal opinion. But if the Nets could get one of those three guys, I think that's a pretty solid move. I think it's something that they could try for. The only way you could get those guys is including Joe Johnson, though, in the deal with the contracts. I mean, I looked at some of the moves. I didn't really look at Brandon Jennings, but I know for Eric Bledsoe, you could trade Joe Johnson for Bledsoe and Markieff Morris, and once again throw in a couple of young guys like a Chris McCullough, maybe a Sergei Karasev, maybe a draft pick for both Markieff Morris and Eric Bledsoe. That's not a bad move at all. Markieff Morris, they're talking about him being traded as well. If he comes to the Nets, that would be a really good pickup. I think that would be a pretty good, solid team as well. So that's a move that could be done. For the Raptors, I mean, it'd be a little bit hard to get Kyle Lowry. For Joe Johnson, you got to have to get DeMar DeRozan as well for that in that move, probably to even out the contracts. That would be a huge salary dump. I mean, that would really be, if the Raptors were really going the rebuild direction, that would be a move that maybe the Nets could look into. They say they're going to trade DeRozan. They say they're going to get rid of Lowry. They make that trade. That works out pretty well. But the truth of the matter is the Nets aren't looking to do these moves for one big reason and one big reason only. They're looking at the 2016 offseason with the big free agency that's going to happen, and as well as the fact that with Joe Johnson off the books and Darren Williams being stretched and all these contracts off the books, and with the salary cap expected to jump to $90 million next season, basically the Nets are saying, we're just going to enter that free agency and we're going to take a swing at some players. They're going to have about $48 million of cap space at the next season. That's enough to sign almost 2 max contract players, depending on the type of player. Really, it's enough to sign 2 max contract players, but also depends on what player you're going out there and going after. Look, there's no doubt in my mind Billy King saying, hey, we lose Joe Johnson, we lose all these guys, let's go and get Kevin Durant. He's going to be a free agent. Will Kevin Durant choose to go to the Nets? I don't think so, but you never know. If Kevin Durant really likes the idea of playing in a bigger market, which he never indicated he wants to be playing in a bigger market. He likes playing in Oklahoma City, though Russell Westbrook has kind of taken his job from him somewhat. Maybe he wants to leave, and if he goes anywhere, I mean, they said he would go to the Wizards as a place. The Wizards would try to get him. The Knicks are always a destination. But personally, maybe Billy King thinks that he could land him. I mean, I would think that'd be great. Brook Lopez, Kevin Durant, 1-2 scoring punch. I think that's fantastic. And personally, I think it'd be a good move for Kevin Durant because I don't think Kevin Durant's ever played with a player that actually has a legitimate post game. You look at the players he played with. Serge Ibaka doesn't have a post game. Kendrick Perkins never had a post game. Enes Kanter kind of had a little bit of a post game, but not in which you focus the point off, offense giving him the ball. I think that having a dominant player like Brook Lopez in the post might help Kevin Durant a lot, and he could even take his game to the next level. So personally, I think it'd be a good move. I think a Durant, Thaddeus Young, Brook Lopez, front court would be phenomenal. Who cares what the point guard is at that point? I think that's something that the Nets are looking at. And even additionally, Mike Conley is a name that the Nets were talking about. Maybe they'd go after in free agency at the end of next season. You know what? They're going to have enough money to sign Conley and Durant if those players choose to come to the Nets. Once again, I don't think either of them will come to the Nets, to be honest. There's never been any indications that the Nets were a great destination for free agency, but who knows? But they do have enough money. $48 million will be enough to bring in a Kevin Durant and a Mike Conley with a max contract. Look, if that happened, I would think it would be the greatest thing in the world. To have a Mike Conley, Markel Brown, Kevin Durant, Thaddeus Young, Brook Lopez starting lineup with then a Bojan Bogdanovic and an Andrea Bagnani bench. Those would really be the only two bench guys under contract. Oh, and Rondae Hollis-Jefferson, obviously, as well. I think that'd be a fantastic move. I think it'd be a fantastic team, and I think that that's what Billy King is picturing. He's picturing that team. But I think the Nets need to be a little bit more realistic about trying to do that. And look, I don't think Kevin Durant's going to come to the Nets, and I don't think that Mike Conley's going to come to the Nets either. Maybe, you never know. Conley says he likes the Grizzlies, though he did like playing for Lionel Hollins. I don't know. So when I take a step back at the Nets, I say, okay, so you're looking for the 2016 team, but if we've learned anything, it's that free agency is a crapshoot. Look at the Knicks. Look at the Lakers. Look at the Mavericks. It's a crapshoot. You have to get lucky. And teams now, players are more likely to sign with teams that have a proven track record. Where did LaMarcus Aldridge go? Did he go to the team that has all the luxury in the Lakers? Did he go to the team he just recently played for in Portland? No. He went to the team with the championship pedigree in the Spurs. Where did DeAndre Jordan go? Did he go to the Dallas Mavericks, or did he go to a team that has a lot of potential to win a championship, especially bringing in Paul Pierce and everyone else? No. Yes, he screwed the Mavericks a bit with his whole, with his whole lying and all that crap. But beside the point, he's going to a team that has proven that they are a winning team. Kevin Love goes back to a winning team. That's the track record. So unless you are a winning team and you are established a winning culture, players aren't going there. And look, if the Nets could get Durant and Conley with Lopez and Young, they would be a winning team, absolutely. But there's no guarantee. And I think that is what you're seeing the trend now. So I feel like the right thing to do is to trade for players who you can make you a winning team and then attract the free agents. And there's one move in particular that I think the Nets could do that fills this void. That is trade Joe Johnson to the Pelicans for Drew Holiday and Eric Gordon. Now, here's the rationale on all sides of the spectrum. Last year, Drew Holiday did not play. He was injured most of the season. There was all that controversy about the 76ers just not disclosing medical records, whatever. Tyreke Evans proved that he can be a solid point guard. They played very well last season, the Pelicans. But if anything, they could use a little bit more of a scoring punch. Eric Gordon is a player who tends to be injured, but when he's healthy, he's good, but he's a little inconsistent. And he's got a big contract. And there was talks about them trying to ship him away. Drew Holiday, same thing. He's got about offered $10 million the next 2 years. They might want to trade him away. They get Joe Johnson. They start Tyreke Evans. Tyreke Evans, Joe Johnson, Anthony Davis. Not a bad team, right? I mean, you're looking at that core, that's a good team. And the Pelicans are a team that's trying to get to the next level. I think it's a very valid team and a very valid move. I think Joe Johnson would make them better. Is Eric Gordon better than Joe Johnson? At times, but he always gets hurt. Is Drew Holiday better than Joe Johnson? I don't know. Drew Holiday's always been hurt. Maybe the Nets throw in another player or two in it. Once again, a Karasev or a Chris McCullough to try to sweeten the pot a little bit. But I think the Nets should do that move. Drew Holiday, when he played the last healthy season, he was 18-8 and shot 39% from three. He is a great point guard. He just hasn't been healthy. But if he has a full healthy season under him, I think he'd be a great point guard. He's only 27 years old. You pair him up with a Thaddeus Young, Brook Lopez core, that's great. Eric Gordon, you're just doing that move to fill out the contract void, the salary difference. But the Pelicans were talking about trading him anyway. I think he would make the Nets a solid team as well. He can be the starting two guard, and you can figure out the team from there. Start Rondé Hollis-Jefferson, have Markel Brown come off the bench. It'll be great. I think that's a move the Nets are trying to do. And here's the best part about it. Because Eric Gordon also has an expiring contract of $15 million, he comes off the books. Drew Holiday's contract is only worth $10 million, right? So now the Nets, instead of having $48 million of cap space, they're going to have $38 million. But why does that matter? That's still enough to sign Kevin Durant, like the Nets want to do. But here's the thing. Bringing in Eric Gordon and bringing in Drew Holiday makes the Nets a better team. Now, Kevin Durant in free agency will take a step back and say, well, look at the Nets. Drew Holiday, Thaddeus Young, Brook Lopez, a young Bojan Bogdanovic, a second-year Rondé Hollis-Jefferson, a really solid Andrea Bargnani, if he plays decently. Shane Larkin is that's not a bad team. Huh. Maybe I will actually go there. Instead of hoping that the Nets will be good with getting a Mike Conley in free agency or another players in free agency and thinking that Thaddeus Young and Brook Lopez is a good team. Because let me tell you something. If Eric Gordon comes to the team with Drew Holiday and Thaddeus Young and Brook Lopez and everyone stays healthy, that Nets team is hands down a playoff team and, in my opinion, possibly definitely a top 5 team in the East. And you put in a Kevin Durant instead, you take this team to a whole other level. I think it's a genius move. I think that if the Pelicans will do the deal for Joe Johnson and maybe a prospect or two or maybe another player for Drew Holiday, I would do it. I think it would be a fantastic move. I really, really do. I think all the signs point to it being a good move. I think the Nets will get a solid point guard for next season. They will have a good player in Eric Gordon that they can try to win and be as good as possible this season because they don't have a draft. They don't have their draft pick this year, so tanking doesn't do anything. So they can play hard, make the playoffs, try to be a good team. And then at the offseason, goodbye Eric Gordon. And you bring in Kevin Durant, fantastic. Or better yet, maybe they can strike a deal with Eric Gordon to take a huge pay cut, and then they can bring in Kevin Durant. So say they think about this crazy move: Drew Holiday $10 million, and then they give $10 million to Eric Gordon. Well, guess what? Now they're gonna have $28 million still available for Kevin Durant. Maybe Durant wants to sign for a $25 million a year contract. Now you got Drew Holiday, Eric Gordon, Kevin Durant, Thaddeus Young, Brook Lopez, with Rondé Hollis-Jefferson, Bojan Bogdanovic, Andrea Bargnani, and Shane Larkin coming off your bench, and a Markel Brown. I mean, come on. You are setting yourself up for greatness. And that's what you have to think. You can't think short term. You got to think long term. But you also have to understand that you have to increase your chances of signing these free agents. So that's a move I think the Nets should do. That's a move I hope Billy King is looking into. Either that or the Trey Burke move again, because both of them to me are very much so possible. The other moves for Eric Bledsoe, Brandon Jennings, and Kyle Lowry, don't think it's going to happen. I did want him to get Ty Lawson. He was already traded, so forget that move. Look, I think it'd be smart for the Nets to look into that. I really do. And I hope that somehow Billy King realizes that he can still bring in a good point guard, and this team could be a really good team. I really do hope so. But it doesn't look like that's what the Nets are going to do, but whatever. So we'll see. So that's my little point guard rant. So that concludes this NetsBoy episode. I think my next episode, I mentioned it before, I'm going to bring back my top 5 in each respective positions based off of last season. I did that 2 years ago, and I think I'm going to do it again because I think that's going to be fun to see and do moving forward. So, that being said, keep your eyes open for the next NetsBoy, and let me know what you guys think. Do you think that trading for Drew Holiday and Eric Gordon will be a good move of trading Joe Johnson? Do you think that the Nets have any shot at getting Kevin Durant or Mike Conley? Do you think that maybe we're trading for Trey Burks would be a good move? What moves do you think the Nets should do? Let me know, guys. Comment down on the bottom, and I'll see what you have to say, and I'll probably respond. So, anyway, let me know what you guys think. Let me know. Just let me know. So until then, keep your eyes open for the latest NetsBoy episode. And this is NetsBoy signing off. When